All right, guys, I think we're now live again for another weekly episode of our Conversations with Cougars. And I'm so pleased I've got my former classmate and teammate and fellow captain of our 85 team, Lawrence Dawsey, with us this evening. How you doing, friend?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Trying to stay out of the way of this corona,
Right. Now, where are you? Are you in Tampa?
I'm in Tampa. Yeah, I'm in Tampa, Florida.
Okay. Well, I see that awesome looking 29 jersey sitting back there behind you. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. But for those few of you who don't know, no, forget it. Everybody knows who Lawrence is. We're just going to move into this. Well, Lawrence, I've been wanting to get you on here to have a conversation with you for a while. I'm glad you've got the time. You know, most folks are finding they've got way more free time, but knowing you're always busy. I know you've got stuff going on, but we're going to take it way back to start.
Okay, let's do it.
Where I want to know is, what street did you grow up on? What community in Dothan? Where was that?
Well, if I tell you the truth, we might get in trouble. I was really in the country.
Statute of limitations is over.
Well, I lived in the country, even though I was in Northfield. I was supposed to be going to Ashford High School.
Mm-hmm.
So
I always had a sneaky suspicion that was
but I use my older sister address to go to Florida State.
Well, before we get too deep in this, I'm going to tell you, we got a whole bunch of folks coming through here. I'm going to tell you who's jumped on with us so far. Tony Donaldson, okay. Michelle Armstrong Andrews, Hunter Parrish, Josh Parrish, Tracy Donnell, Eric Easley.
Wow.
Chris Parker. We got a whole bunch of folks on here, and they're all sending some love through tonight, Lawrence. Dawn Truitt. I'm not going to be able to mention them all.
I got to tell everybody. Just let them know I said hello.
I certainly will. Well, Lawrence, we'll get to Northview in a few minutes. I want to talk about. We're going to start with your pro career. We're going to start with you getting drafted early by the Bucs, and tell us. We just had the NFL draft this past week, and at Florida State, particularly in your time, it was very common for a lot of guys to get drafted or go free agent each year. But the system is different. Did you have a combine at that time? Talk to us about you finished your career at Florida State. You're getting ready for the pro draft. Talk to us about that time period first.
Yeah, we had the combine back in the day when I got drafted, but you didn't have all the media attention behind the combine. You didn't really know what the guys was doing like they televise it now on our NFL network. But we definitely had the combine. But what we really didn't have the pro days that they have at the different colleges that they do now. The teams come around and work you out that was interested in you back in them time, and that's when you know how to fit that who was going to draft you. To be honest. Tampa Bay never really came and worked me out, and they still drafted me. So it was kind of strange when I heard that I was getting drafted by Tampa.
Well, Lawrence, back then, I mean, everything is so with social media blown up. Every single move a player makes, they break up with their girlfriend, it's immediately on social media. They say the wrong thing anyway. That still went on back in our day, but to a lesser extent, it wasn't as well known. But the night of the draft or the day of the draft, did you watch it anywhere? Did you listen on radio or talk to us?
I was actually at home right there in Dothan, out there on the farm. We had a little gathering with the family, and it was supposed to be family, but it was like the whole community was there with so many people at my mom and sister's house, during that time that when the phone call came, it just was like, I'm glad it was like a relief and glad it was over.
And did they call a house phone, or did you have?
Yes, they didn't have no cell back then. It was it was the house phone.
That just shows you how.
So we had to make sure. I had to make sure the line stayed free. I said, hey, don't nobody get on the line and be holding up trying to talk. Leave the line free. So that's.
I'm envisioning that phone ringing. Everybody. You pick it up. Who's on the other end?
Yeah, people on the other end who actually called me was. It was the Bucs secretary, Miss Jill, at the time, and that's when she told me that hold on, we getting ready to draft you. Hold on, and then we waited, and Richard Williamson was the head coach that year, so he actually got on the phone and welcomed me to the Bucs.
And could you believe it?
I was shocked. But at the same time, I was just like, it's over. I know where I'm going, and I was glad to stay in the South, so that was even better.
Yeah, not that terrible of a drive considering other places you could have
Exactly
gone.
right. Exactly right.
And then how quickly after the draft did you report to Tampa or wherever they sent you?
We waited till I think we had a little mini camp. They had a rookie camps on that. I think it was like in June when I came down for a mini camp, and then went away, and then we came back in the end of July and started camp.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Lawrence ended up being the Rookie of the Year that next year, but we're going to pause that Tampa and the NFL career. We're going to take it back to Northview days. And before we do, I got to tell you, you're getting some love. We got Sharon Parrish, Keith Rice,
Wow.
Michael Henry, Mark Reeves, Calvin Thomas, Pete Dudley. Man, you got all kind of folks on here.
Got family in there with Calvin Thomas. That's my nephew there.
Well, the Cougar Nation is out in force, showing some love to LD tonight, and rightfully so. But Lawrence, let's talk about going to Northview, starting high school. You were also an outstanding basketball player. You had I don't know if many people know that you were a decorated basketball player in high school as well. But going into high school, did you know which sport was going to be your sport, the one you really wanted to concentrate on?
Going into high school, I wanted it to be basketball, because I love the game of basketball. And to this day, that's still my favorite sport. Like, my knees just won't let me play no more like I used to. But sat down and had a long conversation with Coach Parrish about it. He looked at me, and he had all these letters from all the different football schools wanting to offer me scholarship. And you look over here, and you didn't have maybe little small schools that was offering basketball. He said, "Boy, you know how many 6 feet guys that's on the basketball court? Not many, but it's a lot out there." So that kind of made me change over to start thinking football. After sitting down talking to Coach Parrish about that.
I can remember in ninth grade, I was a member of the ninth grade basketball team, not a contributing member, but I do remember being in awe of you and the Flowers and Thornell and all you guys who ended up having such good basketball careers. But even before that, going into that first fall, you remember we reported as ninth graders, and we ended up down in that dreaded
the bowl.
Down in the hole, and we had Coach Cleveland and Coach Tribb were our coaches. And coming out of middle school, I played at Girard. We were tough, we were great, we were going to be world beaters. But holy smokes, you get to ninth grade and you're playing big boy football. What was your impressions? Had you grown to 6 feet?
No, I was going to say I was real small, back then. So I was just like, man, I've seen how big everybody was. Never lift weights in my life, and so I started lifting weights there in the ninth grade, and I was like, wow, I got a lot of work to do. That's what I was thinking when I first got there, and seeing how big everybody was.
And what positions were they having you play? But when the season started, we started that fall,
I was playing running back because we were running the wishbone then, so I was in the backfield, and I also was playing cornerback.
I remember you playing both sides of the ball for a while. Do you have any memories of any first games that freshman year? Because I know you ended up getting to move up and play with the big guys after a while, but what do you remember about that time period?
It was just the main thing I remember, just being nervous and anxious all at the same time, ready to hit somebody so I can get it out the way and get on to really playing ball. And once you made the first hit, I remember, I think it was against Fowler. We was over there playing and got in the game. And once that happened, then I just relaxed and everything just started to click.
I can remember that first couple of weeks and I'm looking around. There's so much team speed on our ninth grade team. Harry Stanley. Food stamp. We had so many guys, and I'm thinking, we need to put the ball in the air, but I'm not the coach. I'm just trying to do what needed to be done. Did you have any thoughts as ninth graders, because admittedly, I did not have any thoughts that we would end up where we ended up our senior year. Nobody did.
I was just glad to be on the team, to tell you the truth, because I didn't really expect to play my ninth grade year. When I seen how big everybody was compared to me, I'm like, man, I got a ways to go. And you know, the competitiveness just kept working hard and kept competing. And you know, that's why we was able to win the state championship, because we learned in the ninth grade what it took to get it done.
Well, it really, I still have quite vivid memories of all that dust and nothing but there's no grass down in there, and then having to run that stupid hill. Ewell Jones, Kevin Jackson says hello. Kalima Thompson, Chris Parrish, LaShawn Pryor, Lee Merritt, Chuck Jackson.
Hello to everybody. Hello.
Well, thank you guys for coming in there. And we're going to get back to FSU in just a minute, Kevin. He remembers you bringing some players to practice when he was there at Northview. But let's talk about, Lawrence, what do you remember during our ninth grade, maybe going into 10th grade, school spirit, at least in my memory?
Hold on, my wife talking to me. Hold on a minute here.
Go ahead, we're good.
How long ago they said? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got can. How much is it?
While you're doing that, I'll tell you, Ewell Jones says, what's up, LD? And we got so many folks in here. Chris Parker, Mark Reeves says, call him. Hey, Miss C, I'm so glad you're here with us.
I don't know how to go on there, baby.
Hold on, go
okay,
ahead, Lawrence. I'll put you on mute. I got you on mute, Lawrence. Go ahead, bud. He'll be back with us in just a minute. You ready to come back? You good now?
I'm good.
Okay. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. No big deal.
I'm sorry.
Not a worry. Not a worry. What I was asking, Lawrence, is I remember, you know, they had won the state championship our eighth grade year.
Mm-hmm.
And so 82, 83 football seasons, the school spirit was just, I couldn't imagine a school having more school spirit. Those, I can remember also sitting as a ninth grader at the pep rallies, being up in the ninth grade upstairs, just being in awe of all of those awesome football players down on the court. And then Dr. Smith doing his thing, and then the guys coming together. What do you remember from that time period and thinking, man, that's going to be us one day?
Yeah, I was just always looked up to Leo Butler. He was the quarterback, and Jonathan Woodward, the running back, Doug Jones, all them guys that was just so great football players. You're just like, man, I can't wait to be part of that family and consider myself part of that unit. I'm wanting to win a championship. And we not only wanted, we was expected to win a championship because of what the 81 team did, all the pride that went behind Northview.
You're so right with guys like Leo Butler. Gosh, he was a quarterback 2 years ahead of me, and I just thought he was the most gifted, just awesome guy. He was funny. I'm hoping to get him on here one night if I can track him down. And Woo and Jones, all those guys just set such a high bar for all of us that I think was just such an inspiration.
Yeah. Now,
when did you get first taste of being up with the varsity up on the practice field, and then
the 10th grade, the 10th grade when I really, I had grew a little bit, so I was able to do basketball and football on the varsity really in the 10th grade. So that worked out. And Coach Parrish gave me opportunity, and he seen that I was able to make some plays, and he said, we're going to have to keep putting this guy in there. And then Leo Butler kind of helped me out a lot too, because he was like, hey, Dawsey, you can catch it. I want you in there. So I said, just tell coach to put me in there. I do what I can. And
that doesn't hurt when your quarterback is calling for
you. Exactly. Exactly. When I was in the 10th grade, I have to say, Leo kind of used to take me to his house, during basketball and football season, and kind of talk to me about what it took to be up there with the big guys. Because like I said, I was in the 10th grade, and all these guys, 12th grade, all they older than me. So he kind of was an example and leader, showing me how they did things up there on the bus.
Like a big brother, like a mentor, like we all wanted. But I was always a little jealous of your playing time as a 10th grader. I knew I wouldn't get to play in 10th grade, but I loved it. I was rooting so hard for you when you got
Well, I
in.
appreciate it.
I was
Appreciate
like,
it.
man, that's one of my guys.
That's family. We family. You know, you're always part of the family. You always root for each other, regardless if you're on the field, off the field, whatever it takes. We always root for each other.
Well, if you can remember some of your first playing time, to me, when you're on the sidelines at Rip Hughes, it seems like there's, 50,000 people in the stands. In reality, it was probably 5 to maybe 10,000. But do you remember being out there for some of the first huddles or plays and then maybe, hitting a little bit? What do you remember about that time?
I always remember just thinking about Dothan when we played the rivalry, Dothan High on the other side of town. That was always big games. And when we played Enterprise, how the stands was packed on both sides, then the competition, and you had so many great players on the field on both teams. So I always just remember the competition and just think, man, this is really special what we're doing and going through when you really look back everything we was able to accomplish and all the guys that went on to be successful, not just in me in football, but just successful in life about all the things we learned from football and what it had taught us.
Absolutely. Like Kevin Jackson told us last week, he's on the sidelines for Dothan High as the ball boy.
That's right. His uncle, my boy, Dennis
one of the
Tillman.
best running backs we ever saw. Gosh,
exactly.
Dennis was, whew,
he was special.
Fast. He was so fast.
He was special.
He was. So let's take it. You're still playing basketball and football. We're getting into our junior year. That was a tough season. We ended up with, I think, a 4-6 season, but you had a breakout year. You were able to do some things on the field that were getting folks noticed or getting you noticed by colleges. What do you recall about that time period? I've got a couple I'll mention in a minute, but
I recall Coach Parrish being a great coach. He has changed the offense so we can spread that because we didn't have the size and the mass to be beating up folks, but we had a lot of skill and we had some speed. And I was, fortunate that we went into a situation that we could spread out and be able to make plays, and I was fortunate to be able to touch the ball quite a bit in my 11th grade year, and it worked out that I was able to make some plays.
Well, if you recall, we actually changed the offense 3 straight years, 10th going into 11th, going into 12th, and I'm heading into our 12th grade in a minute, but it was that spring that Coach Andrews, Coach Parrish and I went to Atlanta and we got the new offense that spread, that run and shoot, what the Gamblers were running, what Georgia Southern was running. And that was it didn't immediately set the world on fire, but we ended up finding what we needed to by the end of that year, of course. But I can remember the spring training going into our senior year. So it would have been the spring of our junior year. Thinking it's our time, but we hadn't quite meshed. We've been playing together for a while, and I don't know if you're going to remember this, but I remember having a conversation with you and Cassie and Willie Banks and a couple of other guys who were going to be seniors, and I just remember us just talking about the next year, and that's a conversation I don't think you and I've talked about since, but it's one I've always remembered. And I just remember looking at each of the guys in the eyes and just having this feeling, I don't know what we're about to do, but we're going to do something that we're going to remember. I had no idea it'd be what it was.
Right. That's how it started. But going into the season, we had so many guys coming back in our class, and we all had played a lot as juniors. So we had the confidence in thinking, hey, when we get on that field, there ain't gonna be nobody that step in front of us that we should not be able to compete with and beat. That's the kind of confidence and mentality we had going into that senior year.
And I just remember we were trying to get the offense down. It was only 4 or 5 pass plays, 4 or 5 running plays, but it wasn't one where we had thousands and thousands of reps under our belt.
Yeah.
But with the athletes that we had, we eventually found our footing, of course. But I remember going into that league game, if you remember, the hurricane came through.
Yes, we had to change it to Monday.
We played on that Monday, and most of us, I know you recall, I want you to take us to that first series and what happened that set the tone for the rest of the season. It really did.
The first play of the game, I got a ball, made a few yards and broke down. When I was down, one of the guys from Robert Lee came and put his helmet right into my forearm and broke it. And I tried to shake it off. I was thinking, wow, this ain't feeling right, but I'm going to try to go again. And then when I tried to go again, I had to call it time out, coach, something ain't right. And that's when I was like, man, the season is done. My first game, my senior year, and it's over with, just like that.
And then I think you took off at least the next 3 to 4 games.
Yeah, but when I came back, we was 1-3. So I had 3 games. Yeah. So really 4 weeks.
And you came back maybe for homecoming? Was that the Choctaw-Hatchie game maybe?
No, I think I came back. We were playing Thomasville Central, maybe.
Central of Tom, yeah, maybe that's who. Not Choctaw-Hatchie. I misspoke. It was Central.
I think it was Thomasville Central. That was Charlie Ward team over there.
Yeah. And you had this big blue covering, I remember.
I played with one arm the whole regular season until we got to Dothan High. They was able to cut it down some. But the whole season, when I came back, I played with one arm.
Well, the crazy thing is, guys, you may or may not know, Lawrence threw over 50 passes during the season.
I didn't know it was that many.
You did. We had this crazy set of plays that all I had to do was get the ball to Lawrence, and he had to make a decision. Run the ball if he saw that there was a run, or he could throw it up and over to Chris Holmes or David Hogan or whoever was in that short pattern. And that put a lot of pressure on the end and the safety and the outside linebacker.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time it went for positive yards. Very few times was it drop. Right. But I want to take you, Lawrence, let's go to the Dothan High game. Obviously, it was a heartbreaking game for us, but it ended up being in our favor once we got into the playoffs. Tell me what you remember about that game.
Very frustrating game. That Dothan High had a great defense. They was on us, and not able to finish it. That was just so disappointing. I wanted to play them so bad in the play. I wanted to play them so bad in the playoffs again just to get that revenge. But Phoenix beat them. But that was a game that was just, I didn't feel like I played good. I felt like I let the team down. I didn't perform well. It was just a lot of frustration when I look back on that whole night. But also I was hoping that they had a chance to get revenge on them that following week, but they didn't win against Phoenix City.
Well, Chris Parrish reminded me, thank you, Chris, our junior year, we beat them. We beat Dothan.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And the next year, our senior year, Scotty Dees kicked the field goal in overtime to beat us.
Overtime, yeah.
But I beg you not to go back and watch the fourth quarter to see how I played in that game. It was not good. That was a film I wanted to just bury and never.
We didn't play good as a team. It wasn't just you. It was all of us.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. But as I said a minute ago, with us losing that game, that put Dothan against Bo Peep and Central Phoenix City in the first round, and we got to go up to Opelika.
Yes.
Now, Bo Peep gets hurt in that Dothan game, and they ended up beating Dothan. So we got to play Central in the second round. But what I vividly remember in the Opelika game, if you remember, they were 10-0. They had Sean Smith.
Yeah, they had a stud over there.
They had so many athletes, such a good team. And Coach Parrish famously tells the story that they were the number 1 ranked team in the playoffs. We were the last ranked team in the playoffs.
That's right.
And we played up there, so I doubt anybody other than our people expected us to even be in the game. I just remember, Lawrence, I remember it being a very hostile crowd. I remember driving in.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely a hostile crowd. I was worried about getting out of there after the game because, I was waiting on somebody to start something crazy around there because they known it cut up a little bit in that area.
Well, you may or may not remember one of our students, Kenneth Franks, who was a year behind us in school, not a player.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who got stabbed after the game.
Wow, I don't remember that, but yeah, they don't surprise me. I don't remember that, but yeah, it don't surprise me because they were a hostile crowd. They just knew they was gonna win that game.
Well, I remember after the game, Coach Parrish told us, "Put your helmets on, get in the clubhouse as soon as possible." We were in and out of that clubhouse and on that bus in record time.
Yeah. Yes. But
going into the Central game, if I remember correctly, I think you had a very good game in the second game. We didn't have to face Bo Peep, which was a plus. We ended up winning that game, I think 10-0. I think you might have scored.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, I think it was 10-0.
But then that put us into the third game. That put us into the third round against Robert E. Lee at Lee.
Now that's when you and Hogan and Chris broke out. That was an awesome game coming back from behind.
That was the game that ended up putting me on the map a little bit, and Hogan, and we came alive with only about 10 minutes to go. But what I really want to talk about, and I don't know if people remember this, but you saved the next game, the Fairhope game. It was in the mud. It was a rainy day. Late in the game, we're inside probably the 4 or 5 yard line, or we may have been going for 2. I can't remember.
We were going for 2. Talking about in the fumble.
Yes.
That we was going for 2. We was going for 2.
You tell them what happened, not me.
The ball. All I know when I was gonna get the ball anyway, but all I remember seeing the ball up in there, and I said, "Oh, we got to get across this line." So I remember grabbing the ball when I seen it and just trying to stick it across the goal line to get the 2-point play. And
well, the
good Lord was on our side. It worked out. We got it across there.
It did work, but you saved my butt because I'm the one who fumbled it. But I just remember seeing you and crossing the goal line and thinking, "Thank you, Lawrence." Well, that was the semifinals, and then it put us in the finals, of course. And I can remember that Tuesday bus ride feeling like $1 million, just thinking, this is the greatest thing. We're out of school. We get to go to Birmingham for the day. And what were your memories about stepping onto Legion Field that time and just seeing what it was about?
Having to get the turf shoes and, just being able to say, hey, I'm a senior. I'm going to get to keep all of my gear as a senior year that I'm going to have to go out on this field and show what I really can do and win a state championship and bring it back to Dothan. That was on my mind. And I had family members that I had promised that we was going to get to that game because they had went off into the service and they had came back from the service. When he told me when he was getting back, named Gary Pearson, we were real close. And he said, man, y'all need to go to the state. That way I get a chance to see you play at least one game your senior year, because he was going off the basic training that whole the first part of the school year and missed all the games. And so happened he came back and he showed up that Saturday for the game. So it was awesome for me and the family.
In my mind's eye, there were 50 to 75,000 people there. In reality, it's probably like 22,000.
Yeah, exactly.
But before we go further, I gotta share with you. We got Chuck Oates, Jason Mullins, Cornelius Bennett, Jenny Parrish Skog, Mark Chambliss says hello, Reginald Thompson, Bruce Johnson.
Wow.
Yeah,
them memories there.
there's some memories. I'm gonna get Bruce Johnson on here too.
Yeah.
Bruce was,
great player. He was one of them older guys too that we looked up to that had a great career there.
He used to make fun of me. He used to intercept my passes all the time. All the time. There's some good DBs back in the day.
Yes, we did. Coach Griffin was coaching them up.
Coach Griffin, next month, I got Coach Griffin on here.
I got to try to get that skill. I got to try to get back on here and catch some of this.
Yeah, I'll let you know when it is. But
okay,
I want to talk to you. We're now at the state game. We stayed at that questionable Holiday Inn near the airport. I can remember waking up early and just thinking, man, it's game day. Let's go. And the butterflies are everywhere.
Yes.
Bring me back to your mindset, that game leading up to that morning.
it was like, man, it's finally here. You know, after going through that whole week, after we going through the people leaving from Northfield to go get on the buses and driving up to Birmingham, and I woke up like, okay, it's finally here. I'm tired of waiting. Let's do this. Let's do this. And it's something that I'll never forget. Never forget it.
Oh, before I forget, Josh Parrish remembers a story of him sitting with you while we watched Rocky IV the night before. Remember going to the movies?
Yes, I remember going to the movies. I don't remember exactly I ain't know what we watched, but I remember going to the movies though.
Yeah, it was Rocky IV. You know, he beats the Russian, get us all fired up. I remember going to the stadium and us going inside the locker rooms, and I'm thinking, this is an awesome, big, huge, college stadium. Bama and Auburn play here. These lockers are horrible. I mean, in hindsight, it was an old stadium even back then, but it wouldn't have mattered to us. We
was glad to be there.
At that point in the season, we had already played 5 overtime games. So close games really were okay. Next week, we'll play another close one. It wasn't until Aristotle picked up that fumble and took it the length of the field that I think any of us could
start breathing,
have any relief, because we were already down 7-0.
Yes, right. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. It just, the momentum just changed completely.
It did, because we scored the next 3 touchdowns pretty quick, including Hogan scored right before the half on a play where he said, I can beat my guy, and it was the last play of the half. And I was a little shocked, but Coach Parrish said, all right, go throw it.
Throw it up. Yep. It worked. It worked.
We didn't get to play. I mean, we played into the fourth quarter a little bit, but I want your memories. I don't want to share. I don't know if this is about you, but what were your thoughts? Halftime, we're up 25-7, and then going into the second half.
My thoughts that it was over. My thoughts were, as long as we didn't go out and do something crazy and beat ourselves, it was over. We just needed to take care of football. But also, I wanted to touch the ball, wanted to make plays. You wanted to keep playing because it's your last game, your last high school game ever. So you never really wanted to end, but you definitely knew that, hey, we got a chance. If we finish this, we're gonna be state champions.
Mm-hmm. I can remember in the fourth quarter standing on the metal bleachers with you and Chris Holmes and a few other guys. And at that point, we were done, towels around the necks, all that. And I'm looking around and just thinking, I think every single person I know in Dothan is here. They're all pulling for us. And it was one of the best feelings I ever had, in sports, of course.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, I interviewed Gabe Gross, who played at Auburn and played in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
He still takes it back to that Dothan game his senior year as one of his top sports memories of anything he ever did.
Yeah, and I was at that game because my nephew was the receiver, Tarish Thomas, was the receiver that Gabe was throwing to it. Man, it was a game. I was actually able to get to that game, and it was a great game.
Well, talk to us about where either the state championship game or any other high school memory you have fits into your memory bank of sports memories.
I would have to stay the state championship game. Just being part of that, that's just knowing that we were the champion. We the number one team. Start from where we started at 1-3 and to finish up as state champions. It was like a dream season, really. When you look back on it, nobody gave us a chance every week that we were supposed to lose. And then by the guys in that locker room believing in one another and depending on one another, blocking out all the noise outside. That's the thing that really stands out to me, that we was close. We was a close unit that we left it on the field. Whoever played us, they couldn't say we ever quit. We finished the game.
It truly was a team that had the most heart of any team I ever was associated with. I can remember, because we had so many seniors in our offensive huddle, that there was no sense of urgency. I mean, it's easy to look back now and see how calm I feel about it now. At times there was, because we needed to do things in overtime, but the confidence and the faith just never was gone.
Never doubted ourselves. That was the big thing. We never gave up. And the Robert Lee game is a great example of that. We were down 19-3 or whatever, 27, 10, 27, whatever it is going into that fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Turn around. I got family members out there telling me they had started heading back to Dothan, and then they started hearing on the road what's going on, and they wanted to turn around and try to get back in the stadium. So it's crazy. That's the mentality that team has, a never quit attitude.
Well, one of our offensive teammates just joined us, Chris Lee, and I will never forget Chris Lee saying to me, "We got him right where we want him." And the architect of that offense, Coach Jerry Andrews, just entered the picture. Hey, Coach, good to see you both. Thanks for joining us. Lawrence, I remember being after the state championship game, of course, relieved and just proud, but also just a little tinge of being sad knowing that it was over.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, I was disappointed too in that sense, because we'll never be together again. Playing this team will never be together again.
Mm-hmm. Now, by December of our senior year, had you decided where you were going to college at that point? Had you committed to Florida State?
No, I hadn't. I hadn't decided yet.
Talk to us a little bit about that process, because I know when you broke your arm, that's a game changer for a while.
Yeah. But the process, I mean, when I was looking at different schools and going through it, I talked to Coach Parrish, and Mick Andrews recruited me. He did a great job of recruiting me. He from Ozark, Alabama, so he was kind of tied in right there in the community area. But what it boiled down to, the offense that Coach Bowden was doing at Florida State. He was one of the few coaches back in that time throwing the football, in the South. And it just so happened that, when I went over for the visit, and it worked out. I'm so thankful that I went to Florida State. If I had to do it all over again, I would do the exact same thing. I truly have no regret for going to Florida State. Coach Bowden was a great mentor, and my receiver coach, John Eason, he did a great job of teaching us the fundamentals, the basis that we carried on. Every guy that I came in with in my receiver corps, we all played in the NFL. So that just shows the type of mentality that he has instilled within us when I went to Florida State. And so that I still, as a coach now, I still use the same techniques and fundamentals that I learned way back then.
Wow. And I can remember leading into our senior year of high school, you and I and Chris Lee and some others went to the Alabama football camp. And I'm thinking to myself, Alabama still runs the ball. This is the Ray Perkins era. I don't see Lawrence coming to Tuscaloosa to play football. And I always thought it was such a natural fit for you to go to Tallahassee, being closer to home, and being an offensive minded. But that recruiting process must have been a headache for you at times. Do you remember part of that?
The blessing was we didn't have cell phones and pays, all that different stuff. They had to call the house to be able to get to you, And it was funny because Bud Casey was recruiting me for Auburn, Raider was recruiting me for Alabama. And boy, when I went to the Alabama camp with y'all, because y'all was going, and they gave me a hard time, the Auburn guys, because I didn't come to their camp. And I'm like, man, I'm an Auburn fan. If I had to pick, I'm an Auburn fan. If I got to pick out of two, because I was a Bo Jackson fan at the time, because everybody loved Bo at that time. But
did we ever?
Yeah, but I knew I didn't want to go to Auburn because there was a wishbone. I would have been a tight end out there blocking the whole game. But but it was some interesting things I was told from both sides during that time. It was funny when I look back on it.
Well, being one of the Birmingham News top 12 athletes that year for football will put you on the map like that. And I know that once you made your decision and ended up going to Florida State, you're not only, you go from being a big fish in a little pond, so now you're a smaller fish in a really big, athletic and national powerhouse pond. So talk to us a little bit about you earning some playing time and having to show out what you could do, because you had some major talent you're competing against.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it was during my college, I actually was redshirted my freshman year, which I was so mad because I'm so competitive on to play. But it wound up being the best thing for me in my career, because all the other guys that came in my class, they didn't get redshirted. They all went on, they all played. So it wound up being good. But the competition was every day we had to go to work. You had Deion Sanders, you had Little Howdy NFL DBs that we were going against in practice. When we got to the game, it was so easy to do what we had to do because we had went against the best in practice every day on that. And so, but when you get there as a freshman and you see what you're going against, if you didn't step up and compete, you were going to get embarrassed or you weren't going to get a chance to play.
Well, Lawrence, I was just getting ready to remind the people who may not have remembered that Deion Sanders was on your roster. And I can only imagine you trying to go up against Deion, both future guys in the pros, but, and no offense to you, but Deion's probably the greatest DB that's ever played.
And he's the hardest working guy, even though he had the talent, but he's the hardest working guy I've ever been around. Even though he had talent, he worked. And that's why he was special. That's why he was a Hall of Famer. That's why he played baseball and football at the highest level.
And I think he may be the only guy who's ever played in the World Series and the
Super Bowl. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, what? Give us a memory or two on or off the field. Now, remember, this is a PG-13 show. We got you watching us. I want you to share a couple of FSU memories before we head into the pros.
Oh, my senior year. I go back with my senior year, my last game in Doak Campbell Stadium there in Tallahassee. You know, the rivalry between the Florida Gators and Florida State. It was Steve Spurrier, first year as being head coach at Florida, and he came in talking a lot of trash with Coach Bob and all that, trying to get the rivalry going. Because before that, if he came in, I was 4-0 against Florida, so I never lost against them when I played. And he was trying to say that it was going to change that year. And they had a good team, you know, they had a good team. And on the second play of the game, we did a comeback and goal on their secondary with Will White and Richard Fain, and Case Weldon caught me down the sideline. And I had a 76-yard touchdown on the second play of the game. So that was a great experience. They made a post out of it, so it was great.
That set the tone for that game, that's for sure.
That set the tone.
Mm-hmm. What about share with us maybe a bowl game memory?
I'm gonna share a bad bowl game memory. I with the guys that I played with, it was my sophomore year, redshirt sophomore year, and they was juniors. And we went into the Sugar Bowl to play Auburn. Mm-hmm. And we knew we was better in the than they secondary was, but every one of the receivers, every one of us took turns dropping passes that night in the Sugar Bowl. Deion wind up intercepting the ball at the end of the game to win the game, but it shouldn't have even been that close if we'd have been making the plays that we would have supposed to make.
Everybody has an off game, but collectively, you have to just what was on the ball that night.
Yeah, it was crazy. We all took turns dropping it. We all dropped the pass. We were like, "What is going on?" So I'm gonna blame it on the lights in the dome.
Who was your quarterback that night?
Danny Mike Mannis. No, Chip Ferguson. It was Chip Ferguson. Danny Mike was in '87 in the Fiesta Bowl. So that was '88. It was Chip Ferguson was the quarterback.
I know that you ended up just learning so much, excelling, and showing out that by the time the draft came around, you were picked in the third round, if I remember.
Third round. Yeah, third round.
Buccaneers. And for those of you who don't know, you played with Tampa. You played with the Dolphins a little bit, with the Giants a little bit.
And finished up with the Saints in 1999.
And that's what I was going to say is I bet a lot of people don't remember where you ended up. I was going to leave it as a trivia question.
Oh, my bad.
But who threw the hardest ball? Who's had the biggest arm you played with?
Probably Peter Tom Willis. You know, he could throw it. Peter Tom Willis.
That's for sure.
He had a cannon. Sure. So he had Now, when I was at the combine, that year, Brett Favre was because the F and the D, you kind of go in alphabetical order, and I always had to catch his rocket balls at the combine. So he had the cannon now.
Well, I was just getting ready to say, and Kevin Jackson talked to us a little bit about Favre when he was up at Green Bay, but I don't know if anybody's ever thrown it harder than Favre.
He had a cannon.
Lawrence, what's the biggest difference, or not the difference, what's the biggest thing that you learned about being a professional athlete as opposed to being in high school when you're in your teens, your early 20s, when you're in college? But what did you have to learn in a hurry about being a professional?
It's a business. When you go into training camp, is everybody having fun and game, but when you start seeing some guys you don't got to know, they getting cut and their lockers getting cleaned out, it's a big eye opener. I'm like, wow, this the part you hate when you see guys you don't got close to and then they don't have a job anymore. So the thing that really stood out to me, it's a business. So you better take care of your body and take care of the things you're supposed to take care of.
Third rounders get cut all the time.
All the time.
How did you survive? Did you have any mentors? Did you have a coach who took you under his wing?
Well, I just had that mentality. I wasn't a party guy. I didn't ever drink, smoke, do all that crazy stuff. So I didn't have to really worry about it. That part. All I had to think about, I want to win. I want to be the best. And from being around all the guys that I had went through with that in high school and then at Florida State, it was even at a higher level going and competing. We was tight like that we wanted to be the best and we competed. So I just always competed, whether I forget the scoreboard, because Tampa wasn't that good when I was there, but I had to forget and just play hard every play. Just take pride in what's the name on that bike. You representing your family and your city. Just go out and play hard, and then everything else fall in place.
Well, you guys can scour the internet. You can look on the police blotters. You're not going to find this man in any of those headlines, I can assure you. And I know that you being on the straight and narrow was one of the reasons that helped keep you there, like you mentioned. It's too easy. You see way too many guys filing bankruptcy, in trouble with the law.
It's disappointing because, they just throwing their opportunities away, throwing the opportunity away that they have been blessed with.
Well, Lawrence, we've got about 5 more minutes, bud, before we're concluding. And I could talk to you for hours, but we both got stuff we got to do. It's true. Chris Lee says, always a gentleman. That absolutely is one of the definitions of you, Lawrence.
I appreciate that.
After you retired and you finally decided my playing days are done, but I'm not done with this sport, how did you transition into coaching?
I was when I had got released in between the teams here in Tampa, I went out and helped this high school, Tampa Catholic High School here, and a former Buccaneer, David Lewis, was coaching at this school, and he said, man, we need some help. Can you come over and help our offense out? And it was in the middle of the season. And I went over there and thought, I said, man, I kind of like this. I might have to look into this when I finish playing. And had the opportunity to do that and went back and played after I did the high school coaching. And then Jimbo Fisher actually got me into coaching. He got Nick Saban to hire me as a graduate assistant at LSU back in 2003.
Hold on just a second. I bet most of you watching did not know that Lawrence once coached at LSU, but keep going.
So once and then how Jimbo knew me, Jimbo actually played for Coach Bowden's son, Terry Bowden, at Sanford. Mm-hmm. So that, and when Jimbo was coaching on that, after he finished playing, he started coaching with Terry, and they used to come up and watch us practice. And so that's how Jimbo knew who I was in that process, and me and his relationship got through that part. But Jimbo got me in at LSU when he was the offensive coordinator there, and the rest is history. I went from being at GA for one season at LSU, and I went to University of South Florida here in Tampa for 3 years, and then from there I went to Florida State.
And then when did you last coach in college?
2018.
And then folks have been asking me, what keeps you busy these days, the last couple of years, other than being quarantined and maybe
I've been working on my golf game, a little bit, and then trying to get to know my wife again. Because being a coach, it was some time. It was a lot of time that we lost because I was so busy working all the time.
Just always on the road recruiting or in season. Well, Lawrence, you've got an accomplished family. If you want to brag, I want to give you a minute or two to.
No, I ain't gonna brag. I ain't gonna brag on it, but I got a daughter that's a doctor, and I got my son that's getting ready to go to law school. So we've been blessed, and I'm so thankful. And it's all because of my wife. She did a great job with him.
Well, you please tell her we said thank you for giving us this 45 minutes or so to chat with you. I sure have enjoyed catching up with you. I'm sorry there's been so many comments in here, Lawrence. I'd be fielding.
Make sure you let everybody know that I say hello. I can't wait to eventually we all get together and have a big cookout or something when all this over with.
Well, we sure need to, Bud. But thank you for your time. It was great catching up with you tonight.
Same here, Bernard. You take care, man.
You too. And guys, this will conclude another awesome conversation with Cougars each Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And we've got several more coming up. You guys can see on the page who's coming up. But thank you again for all the comments. Coach Parrish, Harry Wayne just checked in. Hey, Coach, thanks for stopping by. Y'all have a good night and be safe. Be well. Bye-bye.